Hello everybody, today we are going to talk about volumes of cylinders. Okay, so the volume of a cylinder is the product of the area of the base of the cylinder times its height. So what does that look like? Well, a cylinder, of course, is like a circle that's been stretched this way, right? It's like a tin can. So the area of the base in pink here is just a circle, okay? And then the height is the height of the side of the can right there. So you'll notice I use two capital letters here. I use a capital B because this is the area of the base, it's not the base. Okay? And I use a capital H because I mean the height of the prism. Now that's going to come in handy a little bit later with some other shapes. So since the base of the area, or the area of the base of the cylinder is a circle, the circle has the area formula, area equals pi r squared, okay? So we can change the formula that we had here. We can take the b out for base and we can put pi r squared in its place because pi r squared is the area of the base. And so, what we're going to do here is we're going to look at this example. So find the volume of the cylinder, round your answer to the nearest tenth. Okay, so it's not a bad idea. By the way, this is called a general form, general volume form, and this is a specific volume form. Okay, because this will work for lots of different things. It'll work for all kinds of prisms, a rectangular box, and a triangular prism, and a pentagonal prism, and all that kind of stuff. But this works specifically only for cylinders, okay? So, I always, like it when people write down the general formula and then convert it to the specific formula. And then what we can do is we can take information off the picture and plug it in. So, here, let's do this. Let's change these to blue, and then since the radius is red, we'll put the radius in here like this. So the volume is going to be pi times 3 squared, and the height is green, so we'll go ahead and put that in here as 6, just like that. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do 3 squared, that's 9, and 9 times 6 is 54. So the volume is 54 pi, and this is in cubic meters. Now that is the exact value. When you have a pi in the answer, that's the exact value. Now remember, pi is an irrational number. I can't actually write it down. Okay, so, and it tells me here to round to the nearest tenth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my handy dandy TI-84 plus C Silver Edition graphing calculator, or some reasonable facsimile thereof. And I'm going to go ahead and put in 54 pi. So my pi key is right above my power key here, and I hit enter, and it tells me that that's approximately 169.646, so we'll round it to the tenth, that's 6, and that's cubic meters. Now, here's what I did. I put down my my exact answer and my decimal approximation. Now, a lot of people are mistaken in thinking that this is the exact answer because it's detailed. It's got the 0.6 in there. That actually is not the exact answer. Okay, and there's no way to write down the exact answer. So this is an approximation, and that's the exact answer. Okay, moving right along. So find the volume of this cylinder right here. Okay, so again, we had the volume formula for any cylinder was pi r squared times h. Now, the height here is the distance between the two circles, so even though it's laying on its side, that's the height. So we're going to go ahead and put 20 in for the height. Now, be careful because this asks for the radius, and that gives you the diameter. So I need to take this diameter and cut it in half, so this is going to be 2.5 squared times pi equals the volume. So now all set up right now. It should be very easy from here. This is just a calculator question now. So 2.5 squared times 20 comes out to be 125 pi, and this is in cubic feet. And it didn't ask me for an exact answer or a decimal approximation, so I'm going to go ahead and get both anyway. So times pi, that's approximately 392.699, so we'll just say 0.7 cubic feet. If you give both the exact and the approximate answer, it's pretty hard for a teacher to argue with you on that. Okay. Here we've got another one now. Find the height of the cylinder, round your answer to the nearest whole number. So on this one, they give you the volume, but you don't have the height. Okay? So again, we're going to write down the formula, volume equals pi r squared h. That's my specific formula for a cylinder. And then I'm going to put in the information. This is why I like to write down the formula, because it tells me where all the information goes, and then I can easily see what I need to find. So the volume is going to go here, 314. Pi, I'm going to go ahead and just use 3.14 for pi, and you can probably see why. This is going to come out to a nice number over here. Okay, and then r squared, that's going to be 10 squared. And then h is my variable. Okay, so 10 squared is 100, and 100 times 3.14 is 314. So this is going to be easy. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 314. And h is going to equal 1 inch. Okay, piece of cake. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I got two problems here for you. This one you're going to find the height. This one you're going to find the volume. Go ahead and pause the video right here, do these two problems, and then jump back on and see how you did. Okay, so let's start with this one. We're going to write down the formula again, and I will always expect you to write down the formula for every single problem. So if you've got 5 of these you got to do, I expect to see it written down 5 times. Okay, so this is pi r squared h. Okay, there's my volume. It's going to go here. 2,543.4 is going to equal, I'm going to go ahead and use 3.14 for pi. R is going to be 9, so this is going to be 9 squared times h. Get out my handy-dandy TI-84 plus C Silver Edition graphing calculator. 9 squared is 81 times 3.14. So this is 2,543.4 is going to equal 254.34 times h. And I think you could probably do this in your head at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by 254.34. Oops, 54. Messed that one up. Okay, and I'm going to get h is 10 meters. Okay, so there we go. Now over here, volume equals pi r squared h. See, writing this down also burns it into your memory. Okay, now be careful because this is the diameter and the radius is going to be half of that, so it's going to be 2. So the volume is going to equal pi times 2 squared times the height is 13. Now, it just so happens that 2 squared is also 4. So this is 4 times 13. That's going to be 52. So the volume is 52 pi, which times pi, that's approximately 163.4 and this is in cubic inches. Got my exact and my approximate answer. Okay, hopefully you got both those right. All right, question here. We got a nice picture of a chunky salsa. Unfortunately, it's mild salsa. It says how much salsa is missing from the jar. Okay, so here's what we got is we've got the dimensions to calculate the volume of the jar, the complete jar, and we've got the dimensions to find the volume of what's left. So we're going to take two different cylinders here and we're going to subtract them. Okay, so the volume of the jar, remember here's my general formula again, pi r squared h. Okay, the full jar, here let's do this in green. So the full jar would be pi times radius is going to be 5 centimeters squared times the height of the jar is 10 centimeters. So this is 25 times 10 is 250 pi. Now I'm just going to leave it like that for right now because it'll save me a little bit of work. Okay, and then the actual salsa that's left in here is going to be pi times the radius is still 5, but now the height is 4. Okay, so this is 25 times 4, that's 100 pi. The reason I left the pi's in there is it's going to be super easy to subtract these now. 250 pi minus 100 pi means that there is 150 pi cubic centimeters missing, and so I'll go ahead and go 150 pi and figure out what that is. That's approximately 471.2 cubic centimeters is missing. And it's probably a good idea to label what it is you just calculated in this problem. Okay, it's not often that somebody calculates the empty part of the jar. So there you go. All right. How many gallons of water does the water cooler bottle hold? 1 cubic foot is about 7.5 gallons. Okay, so the way they've got this filled up from here to about here, that's a cylinder. We can calculate the volume of the cylinder. Remember, that's pi r squared times h. Okay, so then the volume is going to be pi times the radius is going to be, okay, the diameter is 1 foot, so it's going to be 0.5 feet squared, and the height is 1.7 feet. This is definitely a calculator question. 0.5 squared times 1.7. This is 0.425 pi, which I'm going to go ahead and multiply by pi. Okay, so this is approximately 1.335 cubic feet. Okay, so now I've got to solve how many gallons this is. Okay, so I have a proportion here. 1 cubic foot is 7.5 gallons approximately. Okay, so I'm going to set up a proportion. This is cubic feet, 1.335 has to go on top here because the cubic feet are on top here. There's what I'm going to figure out. So remember, when I have a proportion, let's just take this. We'll move it down here. Okay. Remember, we solve a proportion. We always multiply the two diagonal numbers and divide by the other one. So this is going to be 7.5 times 1.335 divided by 1. So times 7.5. This comes out to be approximately 10 gallons. So I go up here and I look at my choices. That would be B. Okay. Alrighty then. Now this is not in your book, but we're going to talk about it anyway because it does come up occasionally. What's an oblique cylinder? An oblique cylinder is a cylinder that leans to one side. So you find the volume of the cylinder exactly the same way that you do a right cylinder. So this would be a right cylinder. These would all be right cylinders because they all have like a 90-degree angle right here. You use the same formula. So again, the volume is going to be pi r squared times the height. The only difference is the height is going to be not the side right here. This is called the slant height. We don't want the slant height. We want the actual height. So the actual height would be like, if you were standing up here on top of this thing and you fell off, how far would you fall? Okay, so the height is going to be perpendicular to the base here. So that's going to be 8 meters. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and plug it in. Volume is going to be pi. The radius is still 6 squared times the height, which would be 8. So 36 times 8. This is 288 pi, which is approximately 904.778, so we'll just say 0.8 cubic meters. So don't be fooled if you see an oblique cylinder like this. Just oblique just means it's leaning. And the only thing you got to make sure is that you use the height perpendicular distance between the two bases. Okay, so you can go straight from here down to here. You can't use this side right here. Okay? Alright, so you're going to get to do problems 1 through 23, the odd ones. Should be a fun assignment. I'll see you guys in class. Have a great evening.